Lighting like Steve McQueen, I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit, cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly, better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder, and I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is a Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. As you can see, it is still the Freight Coach Roadshow is out there. I am live from Dallas, Texas again. I'm flying back to the freight capital of North America here later on today, aka Phoenix, aka Freight Valley. And they'll be back in studio next week. And yeah, it's been great out here on the road. Obviously, earlier this week, I was out in Washington, D.C. for the NMFTA Cybersecurity Conference. Had a ton of positive takeaways from that and really looking forward to continuing dialogue with that organization. And then I've been in Dallas here for the last couple of days, meeting with my friends over at V-Hub. We got some very, very, very exciting things that are coming out there with that. And yeah, it's Freight Friday, as Whitney Young already says. It's the best F word around. Friday. We'll, let it slide. I think we all know what the best F word is, but you know what? Whitney Young is right. It is Friday out there, and Freight Friday, however you want to throw it. But yeah, we will be back in the studio on Monday. And, here's just before we get into the show and everything, obviously next week's a holiday week. So what can you do right now for your customers? Start talking to them today about what their hours of operation are going to be. When are they going to be shutting down on Wednesday, Friday? How does that look? And then furthermore, get with your drivers as well and put this information out there. Nobody wants to be stuck with a load over a holiday weekend because we didn't do our job and call ahead. And then furthermore, when you are dealing with your carrier partners out there, find out where they're going to be stored at. Find out what the address is, where they're going to be sitting at, so they can enjoy their holiday weekend as well. And then we don't pull up tracking and see that they're not where we thought they should be at that time. So again, you guys, communication is going to be everything over the holiday. So get ahead of it and get moving with it. Before we get into the show, got to give a shout out to my friends over at V-Hub. They're who I'm out here seeing in Dallas this week. VHubApp.com. It doesn't matter if you're a broker, carrier, or shipper alike. We all need access to trailers. And especially right now in this market, no carrier should have to shut their operation down because they have a trailer in the shop. And the best part about all of this, you guys, as always, you get paid to move these trailers for them. So what they're working on right now is they have Paragould, Arkansas, going up to Delta, British Columbia, and you get paid $18.50 US to move that. Again, that's on top of the revenue of the freight that you can get by loading out that trailer. And then they also have San Diego, California, going to Millbury, Ohio, and that's $600 to do that. Hit them up, you guys, vhubapp.com. It's a way for you to help curb these diesel costs, these repair costs, everything, and most importantly, stay in business through this market shift and everything else that's going on in the world. So hit them up, vhubapp.com. My friend Xavier Campos and Stacy Steen, they'll be in the audience. Hit them up and just do me a favor. Let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. That always helps. All right. Let's go. We got some comments already. Alex, what's up? Let's fucking go. Friday with the Freight Coach. Appreciate it. Donald Hatt, good morning. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for joining in. Pat Green, what's up? Good morning, Freight Coach Nation. He says, Stephen, Papa Freight title. Good morning. Time for the news. Amen to that. And LinkedIn user says morning. LinkedIn user, you may identify yourself whenever you want. April Moore, good fucking morning. Monroe, excuse me. Good fucking morning to you as well. Thank you for joining us in on this Friday. Obviously, I just gave out that little bit of the holiday freight tip. And again, you guys just have these conversations on the front end with your customers. I think I know, at least I can say I've been in those situations where you don't call because you're in a hurry to get out. And again, like, it's a holiday week. It's not just a couple holiday, like Thursday isn't just a holiday. It's a holiday week. And we need to be prepared to help smoothing out operations. And then furthermore, if you're out there building your book of business, your phone better be on all weekend long, because this is going to be those opportunities that you're going to get in the door with some of your customers and some of your prospects right now. Every time that there's some uncertainty in the market, there is certainty in the fact that someone is probably going to fuck up, and that's your opportunity to get in the door. It's never going to be a perfect, first come, first serve, 24-hour shipper and receiver, pick up on a Monday, deliver on a Wednesday. It's going to weigh 20,000 pounds. That's not the way that it works. You've been working for these opportunities. Don't let them go to the wayside, because you guys, frankly, there's some sharks out there, like, my friends over at River City Logistics, me. We'll take that freight all day long. rocket shipping, they do that. They're going to be working, So again, think about that. You guys have been working hard for those opportunities. Don't let it go to the wayside. Lewis, what's up, my dude? He's just recently completed 75 hard. He's a changed man. He's looking like fucking stud in those pictures that he posted out there. All right, let's see here, you guys. Get some water. I got 4 articles today because I saw this one come up from ttnews.com, and it's Congress eyes FY fiscal year 23 spending deal in lame duck session. And for those of you who don't know, a lame duck session is back in 1933. They put an amendment and they changed the convening date for new Congress to January 3rd of odd number years, shortening the time between an election and the beginning of the next Congress to just 2 months. But with what they are doing right now is for Democrats, obviously they got control of both chambers of Congress through the end of this year. Finalizing fiscal 2023 government funding legislation is a top priority for them. Congressional leaders have expressed optimism about advancing a comprehensive funding bill that would ensure the operation of the Department of Transportation and other agencies for most of next year. And current funding expires on the 16th. Senate Majority Chuck Schumer, will retain his leadership post in the next Congress and called on colleagues to embrace bipartisan. It's amazing how they're always about bipartisan when they're not in charge anymore. Anyways, we're continuing to move forward with the lame duck. We'll always try and work when we can on bipartisan basis for our major bills. And then the Biden White House is calling on Congress to include legislation for emergency aid for Ukraine's war effort. And then let me see. Going on, we're going to skip over some of this stuff. Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, who is vying to be the next Speaker of the House for the GOP-led chamber, has not signed off on supporting foreign policy funding proposals in the omnibus. And then Mitch McConnell is also cautioned Democrats about proceeding with big-ticket funding. Obviously, as a whole, we need to make sure that we are funded first. Like, I just look at it like this. When it comes to these points in particular here, until our roads are in pristine conditions, until we are taken care of here, and then especially for our debt that just continues to grow and grow and grow, we shouldn't be sending money anywhere. We're in inflation. We have hardworking men and women of our country in this industry that are wondering how they're going to eat right now. So it's like, why are we sending that anywhere else? I mean, we got to focus on that. Like, again, I'm all about helping anyone and everyone that we possibly can. But just like I feel like with all of us, we're going to make sure our house is in order before we go out and help anybody else. And I think that our government needs to start operating in that way as well. Like, we can't constantly be working at a loss in adding to the national debt as a whole, because we're just essentially kicking the can down the road, and that's fucking over our children and future generations. Let's see. And then here's where it is. 2023 legislation would dedicate $367.5 million for safety operations and programs within the division of the FMCSA, and for FMCSA Safety Grant Division, senators called for $506.1 million. And government funding bill is among the major items of Congress to have passed out there. Yeah, we should definitely do that. And then the FMCSA should apply that to actually fixing core fundamental issues in the industry. And we should actually get something done. Like, that's what we should focus on with this. We should fix our roadways. We should have all of our rest stops open across the United States. I mean, I can't sit here and speak for every state that's out there, but I know that there's some states out there that the rest areas are closed. That could help with truck parking issues that we're faced with right now. So again, it's like we should take some of this funding and actually apply it. If we're going to be investing through funding, it should go to actually doing shit as opposed to whatever the hell it does, because clearly it's not working out the way that we would probably want it. And by we, I'm speaking for myself here. I think that, we got to clean this shit up in Washington to actually have it work for us, because last time I checked, the politicians work for us, not the other way around. We don't work for them. But anyways, you guys, that article was talking about the FMCSA's funding and everything that they're trying to get pushed through the lame duck session there. That came from TT News. Sonny Sharma, what's up? Orange shirt gang, let's fucking go on this great Friday. You are correct, sir. And let's see here. We're going to get in there. Cody Kohler, what's up, baby? Let's fucking go. Cody Kohler's out there in Freight Valley, aka the freight capital of North America, Phoenix, Arizona. All right, let's go off into the other article here. It is going to be Another one from TT News, and it is trucking industry heads into a smoother holiday season. Holiday shipping season is expected to be marked by fewer delays and disruptions compared to the last 2 years, thanks to early freight movements and flattening of volumes and increased capacity, experts say. That concern over supply chain consistency, availability of capacity, and capability of companies, I don't think that's going to be a big issue this fall. DHL Express US CEO Greg Hewitt said there's a little more capacity than there was before, and that's taken the pressure off the fixed networks like ours and the guys in purple and brown. Okay, that's kind of funny that he wouldn't even refer to FedEx and UPS. All right, let me see here. Back to the article here. The survey reinforces DHL found in a November 10th survey that small and medium-sized enterprises are most concerned with supply chain delays, with 46% citing them. The survey reinforces that some of the things we've been seeing in our trends and things that we're hearing from customers. Hewitt said supply chain challenges continue to be something that businesses are contending with, and that maybe mean that they're ordered inventory early this year and are concerned maybe they ordered too much. Obviously, inflation was the second biggest worry among survey responders, with 35% citing it. And inflation isn't a made-up term, as some mainstream media sources are trying to say. It is real. And then staffing was down at 15% as being their top concern that was out there. Uber Freight, in its November 7th fourth quarter market update and outlook report, found that inventories continue to increase even as consumer demand stagnates. The report noted consumers are spending approximately 8% more on retail than last year, but when it's adjusted with inflation, retail sales are actually 1% lower. We have seen that consumers are spending more than last year, substantially more, but buying less goods. And that came from Mazen Danif, he's a senior economist at Uber Freight. But at the same time, there was more of a unicorn when it came to inventories. Inventories were too low, and this year they have recovered sharply. Inventories have recovered in almost every sector except for motor vehicles and parts, and they are above where they were prior to the pandemic. And the National Retail Federation forecast November 3rd that holiday retail sales will grow between 6 and 8% from the record-setting stretch during November and December of 21. And that means between $942 billion and $960 billion in sales are expected. And despite the ongoing economic headwinds that are out there, consumers are planning to spend for this holiday season. In advance to that, retailers plan ahead accordingly. They moved up their peak shipping season for a variety of reasons. The holiday shipping season has been extended. A lot of consumers are buying and shopping for products earlier than they normally would. It's, again, Goober, Tony Darnell. Come on now. You're throwing me off here, bud. Again, I think that is, we've talked about this, is that it seems like a lot of companies pre-ordered a lot of their inventory, and that's what led to the inventory glut that we are currently experiencing right now. And again, I think like at the end of the day, the companies that went out there and overbought, like I've said before, I think a lot of retailers took the impression of I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it, because last time I checked, retailers don't make any money if they don't have inventory to sell. And I think that this last couple of years have really thrown that into a tailspin. So people panic bought, just like people panic bought at the beginning of the pandemic and everything. So I think that we're finally seeing and I personally feel like this was kind of to be expected, is, when it came to restocking inventory and having the inventory. But, a one way to look at it is the shit's going to move off out of the warehouses in some capacity, right? Is it going to go out to a liquidator, which means more freight, or is it going to go on sale for steep discounts, which, could be good to you as a consumer as a whole? I mean, it's not an ideal situation. I don't think that any company who overbought inventory is like happy that it happened, but I also think that these are just real decisions that you have to make that were out there. And the Uber Freight report also found that trucking industry trends are helping to ease supply chain constraints. Trucking employment is 5% above pre-pandemic levels, which is awesome. And Class 8 truck sales have soared 29% year over year. All of their projections were assuming that demand will keep going up. And all that's especially true when you look at e-commerce. Everyone expected that e-commerce would keep going up, and then everything stagnated. Pat Flynn Sherenzia, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, VP of Enterprise at Overhaul, also had seen retailers working toward an early start to the season. the days before a big rush before Black Friday are gone. I think we won't find it won't be much of a peak. And I also think that there's an element of cargo sluggishness. And then we saw a massive influx of cargo coming in earlier this year than it typically would. And that was added by John Rapkazik. Sorry if I pronounced that as well. And that's a GM of warehousing and freight brokerage at Worldwide Logistics. But we also have seen our storage spaces just completely packed. They don't see any storage pinch easing despite the early fourth quarter of freight. And, again, it's never ideal with some of these situations that are out there. I'm not going to say that, but with what I'm reading out there right now, that freight volumes are probably going to continue here for a little bit. I'm sure it'll ease up after the holiday. Because being in a normal freight cycle that we're in, it's going to slow down in January. It normally does throughout the month of January. And then it starts to pick up again mid-February. And it'll be pretty much rolling fire in March and April. And then, the narrative's going to change. And then the market's going to continue to rebalance. And then at some point next year, again, I'm going to say this every day because I need receipts and I don't have an assistant. The headlines are all going to change because when people go in and bid the way that they're going to bid in this RFP cycle, which is going to be extremely aggressive, they're going to go in there extremely aggressive on price. And then some people are going to go very high. They're going to try and hold their rates. And then you're going to see a bunch of incumbents go in who bid too low. And then at some point next year, there's going to be a rebalance. All right. And then the headlines are going to read. I don't want to put a month out there on the crystal ball out there, but Freight Coach Adamus is saying that the headlines will read at some point, probably by mid next year, how tender rejections are at an all-time high. And nobody saw this coming. And that's because providers are going to go out there and try and source their capacity on the spot market. All right. Because they're that's the way that the rebalance comes. So anybody out there who is a spot market carrier, and Dean Croakey with DAT said this a few months back, have your payments in the bank for January, February, March, because it's going to be slow during that time. But once you can survive through that, you're going to see that uptick again if you're out on the spot market. And then the rates are going to start to increase on the spot market. All right. And that's when you're going to start seeing those other headlines about how spot market rates are up. They're rising and everything else. And that's just what happens in this industry. So be prepared for that. And you know what? At the end of the day, you just never know. Data is data. It can be subjective, and there's a lot of different things that can happen. But as a business owner, you have to control what you can control, and that's all you can focus on in these uncertain market shifts and everything else that's out there. What can you control? How can you improve your business? And how can you stay in business? Most importantly, don't pay attention to the headlines. Because these headlines aren't geared to necessarily help you at times. Not all of them aren't. But again, this headline or what a couple of talking heads, throw me in there. At the end of the day, you need to make the best decisions that you find out there. But there is hope and there is opportunity for you to stay in business. That article, you guys, was also from ttnews.com. Trucking industry heads into smoother holiday season. And again, every article that I break down, you guys, is going to be on the Coffee with the Freight Coach YouTube channel. And also the Coffee with the Freight Coach, the Freight Coach YouTube channel, and then the Coffee with the Freight Coach audio only version of the replay. And if you guys find yourselves over there, if you want to do your boy a solid and subscribe, share, rank the show, hit that 5-star button, that'd be awesome. I would appreciate that very much. It helps with everything. All right. No, Tony Darnell, I did not say that, sir. But I did say I could save you 20%. I'm just throwing that out there. All right. Let's go on to the next article we got. This one was from my friends over at the joc.com. This one was written by Jason Miller. Okay. Associate Professor of Logistics at Michigan State. Excuse me. U.S. wholesale trade data shows industrial economy still resilient. I like the industrial economy because that's what Freight Coach Logistics does. We're out there moving freight in open deck and heavy haul, and, that's where it's at. While the slowdown in consumer-oriented imports have received substantial attention, such softening is not being felt to the same degree in the industrial market. For example, the trucking firm Daseke, its third quarter 2022 earnings, noted the broader industrial-facing freight market remains solid and largely intact due to relatively historical rate environments. The resilience of the industrial freight market is further enforced by data recently released by the U.S. Census Bureau. Let me see. Just going to go over with merchants who sell goods on their own account and also include such business as wholesale merchants or job jobbers and industrial distributors, exporters, and importers account for 30% of the for-hire trucking ton mileage. 56% of the company-owned trucking ton miles, 44% of air freight miles, freight ton miles, and 42% of partial ton miles based on 2017 commodities survey flow. Given the breadth of the wholesale trade sector, the 2017 economic census identified 260,000 different firms engaged in wholesaling that operated 352,000 distinct physical locations that sold $5.7 trillion in goods, which is fantastic. Machinery, equipment, and suppliers, retailers, which sell a variety of products, including construction equipment, farm equipment, industrial supplies, and equipment for other established service establishments. Currently, $52 billion in seasonally adjusted sales each month. Furthermore, as shown in the first chart, these establishments' inflation-adjusted sales have been rising steadily in 2022 and now stands 12% above 2019, which I like a lot. And yes, Whitney Young, you are correct. Highway construction market has not slowed down. I'm all about machinery and equipment and everything else. It's just where I've always cut my teeth and I've had the most fun. Specializing in open deck and heavy haul is something that I absolutely love. Like, yes, we can accommodate drive-in freight and, but at the end of the day, open deck and heavy haul is my bread and butter. It's my love. It's my passion. These dynamics are mirrored in the chemical and allied product wholesaling sector, which sells a range of products, plastic materials, a lot of raw goods out here, and they're amounting to $14 billion each month in sales. And that's up 11% year over year and currently 20% above 2019. The strong demand may help explain their U.S. record exports of inflation-adjusted non-durable industrial supplies that are out there. Furthermore, inventory sales for the sector remain 11% below 2019 levels. Couple these findings with chemical manufacturers having capacity utilization up over 5 percentage points from their 2019 levels. I'm really, really liking this article a lot, especially when it comes to building and everything else. Again, this is all data that's out there. Anything could be subjective at any point in time, but the implications moving forward, it says this: there is a tendency to overgeneralize negative news in one sector, such as okay, this is kind of funny, such as excessive inventories in parts of retail trade and sharp declines in imports in broader swaths of economic activity, a tendency termed backyarditis. Okay, in farming. All right. Data for wholesale machinery, equipment, and supplies and wholesale and chemicals suggest that we are not yet seeing pronounced slowdown of industrial activities. And to the extent that the freight market participant, okay, hold on. I'm just going to summarize some of this here. To the extent that freight market participants. All right. So again, that article was from the JOC. U.S. wholesale trade data shows industrial economy still resilient. And yeah, I think that if you're looking at it from a freight perspective, I think if you have open deck trailers, if you have flatbed, step decks, and all of that stuff, you're looking all right for the early part of next year, because especially with the the infrastructure bill that was passed, is they are, there's going to be some construction. There's going to be a lot of highway construction coming up here and stuff like that. So again, where is that? That's all raw materials. If you're moving construction equipment, if you're moving concrete, if you're moving all of that shit, you're going to be looking kind of all right early next year. And that's just one thing to keep in mind as we're kind of navigating through here. Every, and that's the thing, is it's like, that's, again, that's my problem. Like, I understand that there has to be a national average of rates that are out there, but like, it's so different across freight markets. And, again, this is only based off of the 3 total truckloads that I've moved in my career. And if this is your first time listening, that is complete sarcasm. But it's, you can move a lane. I'm here in Dallas right now. There could be a lane from Dallas going to, let's see, what's something in geographic location, Nashville, Tennessee, for example, that's moving for just an example, $2 a mile. It's not moving that. I don't have the numbers in front of me, so don't fucking chastise me. And then there could also be freight moving from Dallas to Memphis, Tennessee, and it can be moving at $2.40 a mile. Again, like it's so different. There's so many different lanes that are out there, and the freight volumes that are moving, it's very subjective. And just because one lane isn't profitable doesn't mean that there aren't other lanes that are profitable. I mean, Jesus, I'm still moving a substantial amount of open deck freight right now for above what some of these numbers are that are being thrown out there, because we have to pay our carriers at the end of the day. I'm not going to sit here and be that guy that's posting $1 a mile. Fuck those brokers who are posting that, and I think that, again, there are there's a lot of freight that's moving out there. There's a lot of freight that's moving above these national average market rates that are being posted about and talked about and that you see. So another point, don't let that information that's out there deter you from making decisions in your business, because just because one person and one data source says it doesn't mean it's true. You got to check multiple different data sources and do your own research on that and go with that. All right. Third and final article. Yeah, we had a bonus fourth article that we broke down today, but this one is from FreightWaves, and it is LTL carriers point to shrinking tonnage in November. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room. October tonnage, says Yellow CEO. The last few weeks were very, very soft. Forward Air President, Chairman, and CEO Tom Schmidt told investors on Tuesday, and Forward reported a year-over-year tonnage increase of 2% during the third quarter after logging increases of 3% and 5% in the first 2 months. Schmidt didn't quantify the magnitude of the November decline. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room. Our October tonnage, said Yellow CEO Darren Hawkins. Hawkins said that the weakness has come from its retail customers and that industrial-related freight, 60% of Yellow's revenue mix, has remained firm. All right, so that includes, just like the last article we broke down from the JOC, for example, industrial freight is moving high. So that, again, we're seeing a correlation out here. And that Yellow reported 16% year-over-year decline in tonnage during the third quarter, and that was down 24% year-over-year in October alone. Typical seasonality for Yellow yields at 4%. Hawkins said that slacking in demand tends to accelerated during October has continued. However, Yellow has engaged in a multi-phase change of operations, consolidation of its 4 separate LTL companies under one roof, and the plan calls for a total of 6% of total doors of its 309 terminals to be shuttered. The goal is to remove redundancy throughout the network. And as part of the overhaul, the carrier called underpriced freight from its network, installing what it calls an intentional shipment relocation, where new freight rates were set up where shippers could either accept or walk. That was out there. Kind of going on with it. It's, they're talking to Yellow about it. And again, I can't sit here and say anything other that maybe their reshuffling has caused their decline in freight volume. I mean, like he said, they essentially told customers to walk, that they were going to do pricing. So again, there's other factors. When you just read it at the surface level there and you see that, you're like, oh, Yellow's down in freight tonnage. But once you read down a few more bullet points in there, they're shuttering 28 of its terminal locations, and they implemented a new pricing structure and essentially told their current customers, take it or leave it. It's kind of the takeaway I got, although it wasn't direct. Those are my words, not theirs. But that's obviously going to affect some stuff because people are going to walk in those instances. All right. If you're going to go in there and say, I need to increase my rates or I need to do this, take it or leave it style thing, people are going to walk, you're going to lose business with it. So that has probably some factors, not all factors are included in that, but some of the factors are what they are right there. And, that's what you need to take it as. I don't want to say take it with a grain of salt, but you need to take that information and realize that, hey, at the end of the day, you guys, there is still freight moving out there. And if there's freight moving, that means that there's an opportunity. Again, that article was from FreightWaves, and it was LTL carriers point to shrinking tonnage in November. But that's it for today, you guys. Freight Coach Morning Show. We are the top morning show in transportation. We will be back in Freight Valley on Monday. Back in Phoenix, back in the studio. Can't wait to have a little Glory flying behind me like I do every single day, because frankly, guys, I want to see everybody live their American dream. That's why we do this content. It's all about education and value. It's all about you guys. Hopefully you guys can learn something and apply it and see a meaningful difference in your life, because, at the end of the day, guys, I'm living my American dream. I want to help each and every one of you guys live yours as well, because this is the greatest nation on earth. No matter what the hell is going on in the world right now, it is still the greatest nation on earth. But that's it for today, you guys. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.